y'all doing? We're back at it again with another episode of the Counselor's Kitchen Table podcast. And I have with me my special guest, Pastor Crawford. Go ahead and introduce yourself, Pastor. How you doing?
I'm doing all right, man. I appreciate you for the opportunity to come and join you tonight for this conversation.
Oh, yeah,
Looking
all is
forward to
well.
it.
Perfect, perfect. I'm looking forward to this conversation as well. I've gotten a lot of response and feedback. I put out a poll today on Instagram, and a lot of you ladies have been commenting on it and things of that nature. So I'm looking forward to a lot of men and women are ready for this conversation, and I too am ready for this conversation to be had. It's one that we don't often get to do as men, come together, have a conversation, and really just talk things through.
Okay.
So I'm excited for it as well. And so we're going to dive right in, guys. Thank you all for tuning in last week. And I appreciate all of the love, the support, and the messages. We're going to keep it going as long as you're listening. So today we're talking about men, as promised. We're talking about the relationships that we have as men, the relationships we develop as fathers, as sons, as brothers, as, workmen, and that sort of thing. And then we're also going to be talking about some deeper conversations that men don't typically get to have. And hopefully that'll lead to some conversations in you all's homes with your sons, with your spouses or significant others, with your fathers, with your friends, just to kind of break the ice and have these different conversations that we don't always get to have as men and as people who love or have relationship with the men in their life. We don't always get to have these conversations. So I'm glad that you came on today, and we're going to get right into it with the word of the day. So the word of the day is self-actualization, okay? And that means the realization or fulfillment of one's talents and potentialities, especially considered as a drive or need and present in everyone. The second definition says the achievement of one's full potential through creativity, independence, spontaneity, and a grasp of the real world. So based off of that definition alone, what are you picking up as far as that word is concerned, self-actualization?
When we think about self-actualization, man, I'm thinking about me knowing my worth, me knowing what I bring to the table.
All right, that's good. Exactly. Expound on that a little bit. You talk about knowing your worth, being self-aware. How is it that we become that?
Well, you got to set goals, and as you mature and reach those goals that you set for yourself, you become and explore, different areas of life. You become more aware of where it is that you actually want to be at in life.
Okay, that's good. Like I say, a lot of you may not understand that term, self-actualization. I know a lot of people I've used it on, they've never heard that term before. It is actually a psychological term, and that is the third or the final stage in which we suffice ourselves as human beings. So there's two other stages, and that is the first one is our basic needs stage. So we learned that in the third, fourth grade. Food, shelter, water, those are our basic needs. Safety, those are our basic needs. When a child is born, that's literally what they're looking for: food, shelter, safety, water. Those are those things that are necessities for life. Then as we grow older, we mature, then we learn that we need each other. We need to be intimately connected with human beings. We need to have relationships. We seek love. Those are things that fulfill us. And then the last stage is one that I believe we often don't get to as people and as a society in general, and that's the self-actualization. And you talked about being self-aware, being goal-oriented. I think that's a perfectly great way to start in that vein of self-actualization. Any other thought around there?
Man, just having people to hold you accountable also
That's
helps
good.
us in that.
That's very good. Absolutely. I think so, because in that self-actualization space, oftentimes the thought process becomes, and usually you don't get there until scientifically just speaking, you don't usually get there until your 40s, 50s, maybe 60s even, where you've lived a long life, you've made plenty of mistakes, you've made plenty of successes, you've had a lot of L's, you've done your thing, and you kind of put that all together in a formula that works for you, and you walk in that thing proudly, and that's kind of where you get to in life when you're self-actualized. But some words that stick out to me in the definition are realization, and you talked about that being self-aware, fulfillment, having goals, being goals-oriented, potential. And so that's one of the areas I think that we kind of lack in. We're kind of lackluster in the potential of what we do have as a society. We look at what other people do and what other people are doing and saying and trends, and we follow those things. But potential is reaching that leadership part of you, to say that I know what I'm worth, as you said before, and going forward. Talent, even everybody has a talent. We talked about last week in the podcast, your gifts making room for you. Everybody has something that's God given that makes room for them to make them money or to grow them or to bless others, and achievement, that's a part of it as well. And independence, those things within the definition kind of stuck out to me, because it just tells a tale that of completion. And I think a lot of us are walking around as individuals, we're incomplete. And we're even at that age now. You look at a lot of 50, 60, 40, 50, and 60-year-olds these days, and then think about 40, 50, and 60-year-olds when you grew up.
Right.
It's like a night and day difference
Totally
between the age groups and how they function. So it tells us that somewhere we missing the mark on being self-actualized. And so how do you think we best get there in and of ourselves?
So one word stuck out that you said, it was actually potential.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm thinking about also you said that a man's gift will make room for him.
Right.
So if we tie those two particular thoughts together, potential and a man's gift making room for him, many times we think potential is who I am.
Okay.
Right? But who I am does not really prove that I have potential. Because some people who they are criminals.
Right.
You know what I mean? So that does not say that they have potential.
Right.
And if we tie that particular potential with the gift will make room for me.
Right.
The gift that makes room for me is what I have to offer.
Okay.
Not necessarily pulling something in, but what do I bring to the table? My generosity. Potential means that I'm generous to give that which I've been.
Gotcha. Yeah, that makes perfect sense, because at the end of the day, like you said, who you are in your present state don't always speak to your potential.
Absolutely.
And that's absolutely sound, because there are a lot of people that ain't where they were 20 years ago.
Absolutely, yeah.
A lot of people that ain't where they were 5 years ago, a year ago, So growth, development, change, that's what it's all about. And I think that that's the pathway to get to that self-actualization.
Yeah.
And even to get there knows that is knowing that it don't stop. Right. Like, because that's the downfall, I believe, of the stage of self-actualization. Is sometimes we can get there and think that because we've acquired all this stuff in life, that we got it, we've arrived, and we can't do anything further. But in the definition, it says potential, so that means there's still more to do. There's still more to be done. There's still more to seek. All right, guys, so that's the word of the day portion. And we're going to crack into our food for thought. So we've gone through the well for starters. We're going to crack into our food of thought. Again, this is where we break down the topic even deeper. I know we've gotten pretty deep, but y'all, it's about to get a whole lot deeper, and I cannot wait to dive into these conversations. So here we go. All right, one of the questions that we received via poll is, what keeps men from reaching the stage of self-actualization in life?
Wow. That's a good question.
All right. Let's talk about it.
So I believe that what keeps us, or one of the things that keeps men from reaching their self-actualization stage is being childish, bro.
Okay.
Not wanting to move forward, but we're lingering in that. I was talking to a guy today. He said he brought up the phrase extended adolescence.
Okay. All right, that's good. Extended adolescence. Wow.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah, how that we continue to do the same old, and before you know it, if you're from my area, you've done that for so long. Now you've ended up in front of a corner store, or in front of a Walgreens.
Yeah, you got a space,
wasting the potential that was that was in you, right? And so that there stunts your growth. Environment keeps us from coming to realization of self. The environment that we grow in can define us. Just because of my environment don't necessarily mean that I have to adapt to that which my environment says I am. I don't have to settle in that. And I think that not only do men have this idea of extended adolescence,
Mm-hmm.
they're victims of that. They also are victims of what their environment would put on them.
Okay. Okay.
I'm from right up the street in the
Mm-hmm.
South Park area where the environment there is a lot of dope dealing.
Yeah.
And people have grown up in that.
Mm-hmm.
Therefore, they're following the trend of the environment.
Right. They're chasing what it is that's already before them. It's like
Exactly.
the carrot and the horse sort
Exactly.
of mentality that you got something dangled in front of you.
Exactly.
And you don't know the dangers of where it's leading you because all you focused on is the carrot
Right.
and not where you actually going.
Right. Right.
Yeah, yeah,
Right.
absolutely. And that definitely, I believe, speaks to how we can waste potential as men. You're right on the money as far as the environment and things like that. We already talked about potential. And for me, I believe that as a society, we've placed these standards on men
Mm-hmm.
to have no expectation of finding inner joy or peace, man. I mean, I really do believe that it means, as far as what it means to be a man, it doesn't go deeper than carnal things.
Absolutely.
You think about what they promote for men on TV, it's always carnal.
Yeah.
Usually it's always sexual
Yeah.
in nature. It's always lustful in nature. So you think about, the things that men typically enjoy in society. And that's usually some type of sport activity, football, baseball, basketball, something of that nature. And or drinking, partying, letting your hair down, fishing, something to do with your hands. And a lot of those things, again, it's great to so let's just go here because I feel it in my spirit. Some man or some woman right now is getting confused.
Come on.
But understand that it's great to have hobbies, right? But having a hobby and then knowing who you are on the inside are two different things,
Right.
right? Because typically, I believe women reach these stages of self-actualization because the things that they do from birth aspire them. And we're going to talk a little bit more about that in one of the questions. You brought up this extended adolescence. We're going to talk about that boys to men transition in just a second. But just in society alone, we have to be engaged in those things. We have to be engaged in things that make us, that's all about physical and satisfying our physical needs. We don't really engage into anything as men that satisfies our emotional or our spiritual disciplines. And so oftentimes we don't get to even look in ourselves to understand what's there.
Right.
We don't get to look inside ourselves to understand what potential we have. We don't get to look inside of ourselves to understand, because everything in the world and the standards as it pertains to men has us focused like that carrot in front of the horse mentality on everything else but what's on the inside.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
so I think that's what keeps us from reaching that self-actualization stage, because based off of the definition alone, it talks about a lot of interpersonal things.
Yeah.
And we never get internal as men.
Yeah.
We just don't.
Right.
Everything is external for us. And the truth of the matter is, I believe this based off of plenty of the relationships that I've kind of looked at and interviewed and worked with. Men would rather have that look of a clean-cut family, of a everything's all right kind of family, than women. You see what I'm saying? Even more so, because 9 times out of 10, if a woman does have problems, she's going to run and she's going to try to get some help, talk to somebody, talk to girlfriends, talk to mama, talk to, whoever. A lot of times when you ask men what's wrong with the relationship, what they say? I'm good, I'm cool. Nah, we all right. Unless it's they boys or somebody they really, really, trust, more than likely, they're going to be holding on. You see what I'm saying? Because they want to be looked at. It's all about the external, all about the carnal.
Right.
They want to be seen as strong. I
Right.
got it. I'm holding it together. But look on the internal. Like I said, we're conditioned as men and even as a society to focus on exterior.
Yeah.
And we don't look internally.
Right. Man, I will add this as
Uh-huh.
well, man. The other day, I was talking at the shop, and I just thought about that, exactly what you're talking about. This idea of men and us chasing after everything that's appealing to our flesh.
Yeah.
Leisure will not lead you to purpose.
All right.
Spending too much time, and I've had to learn that the long way, the hard way.
Okay.
spending too much time going after what
Mm-hmm.
I want, you
Right.
know. And now when you discover yourself, now
Yeah.
you playing catch up
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
because of
Absolutely.
lost time.
Absolutely. Like I say, a lot of these things make us miserable.
Hmm.
And we really don't realize what it's doing to us. Chasing after the sports, chasing after the dollar, chasing a job, chasing a hustle, all these things that we chase because that's our natural, that's what we're endowed with naturally. Men are hunters, women are gatherers or consumers, men are producers. And so naturally, what we do is we chase, we hunt, we trot after, we seek, we do that. And when we do all of that, it makes us miserable because 9 times out of 10, what we're seeking and what we're looking after is only satisfying temporary things.
Temporarily.
And so we never look internal. We never see the inside. We never say, man, what really makes me happy? And that was the poll question that we released earlier was, ladies, do you know what makes your man genuinely, truly happy? We're not talking about things that meet his physical needs. We're talking about, do you know what, when your man wakes up in the morning, what's the first thing on his mind, what he thinking about, what puts a smile on his face? You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
What makes him at peace with it? And oftentimes you find that we don't know.
Yeah.
But we'll get down into it. So the second question says, how can the lack of ever reaching self-actualization influence a man and his relationships toward his family?
Choo.
All right. So how can the lack of getting there influence the ones that he loves?
Well, if you're talking in marriage, man, that's
Oh,
a
yeah.
big deal
Mm-hmm.
because if you do not arrive,
Mm-hmm.
there is a whole lot of other platforms, that can look to be, what you are not
Okay.
in the home,
Mm-hmm.
as well as you don't have enough to pour into your kids
Mm-hmm.
if you have them.
Absolutely.
Therefore, you cheating them.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
They're at a disadvantage when in fact if you grow up in a marriage home or in a home with two parents,
Mm-hmm.
you're supposed to be at an advantage according to studies. But
Yeah. Yeah.
if you don't have nothing to bring them,
Mm-hmm.
it's no different.
It's no different. And sometimes you get worse off.
You worse
Because
off.
I know plenty of people who grew up in a two-parent household and worse off than
Yeah.
I could ever be.
Right.
Because at the end of the day, my mother had wisdom, and I applaud her wisdom and appreciate her wisdom for putting me before great men
Absolutely.
and men who could pour into me what I needed because she had enough wisdom to say, look, I can't do this on my own.
Yeah.
And it was all boys she had. So you understand what I'm saying?
Mhm.
There had to have been a moment in her life where she became self-aware to understand, no, I can't, these
Yeah.
are men. I need some men in front of them. And so she had enough wisdom to do that, and I appreciate her. Just what you were saying about marriage, I think we often say, happy wife, happy life. But in retrospect, I really do believe and love the much better quote for me that says, happy spouse, happy house. Because men deserve to be happy too. Just period point blank. We can put a pinpoint right in there. Men deserve to be happy too.
Yes, sir.
In the way that's tolerable. But in some type of way, that's fulfilling one's inner self. And everybody on earth has a natural born talent or gift that's designed to initially bring them peace, but eventually bring forth blessings, right? And so whatever that natural thing is, it's supposed to make you feel at ease and at peace with yourself first. That's how you know it is a blessing, because if it can bless you, then it can bless somebody else, right? But we don't often get there as men because our focus is usually on others. And then by the time it comes back to us, all we want to be focused on is satisfying ourselves. Why? Because we do so much and sacrificing to satisfy others as men. And let me interject something right here because I feel it in my spirit. I'll tell you, I already know what this conversation going to do for some folks, right? But I got to make this clear. We're not talking about deadbeats. We're not talking about men who don't. We're not talking about bad men. So we talk about men who in the home, men who do what they're supposed to do. Now we're talking to deadbeats. We're talking to men that don't know why, because these are the conversations that they're not having as men.
Okay.
No men are having these conversations in general, But these are the conversations for those type of men that need to be exploited. But understand, I'm giving that PA to the ladies, because I already hear them coming for me. Hey, I don't do nothing. No. It's some men out there that are doing what they're supposed to do and taking care of business. However, for the men that don't, you're understanding why. They're miserable.
Yeah.
How can a man make a happy home if he's miserable?
Right.
How can a man do for his children if he's miserable? How can a man provide if he's he can't.
Yeah.
He can't. And so we're understanding why these men are miserable. And we're just kind of pointing that out. But just as you said, the children ought to be at an advantage because Daddy is there, not at a disadvantage. And I know people personally who are at a disadvantage because their father was in their life.
Right.
And I often think about that for myself because my father wasn't totally in my life. He wasn't, as he should have been a father, right?
Yeah.
However, I think about that all the time. What if he had been in my life? Who would I be? Because children do what they see, not what you say. So who would I be if my father was in my life, if I was seeing him on a day-to-day? You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so just as you spoke to, I believe that wholeheartedly. Men deserve to be happy too. So let's change that rhetoric. It's not happy wife, happy life, okay? It's a happy spouse, happy house. Work together to make each other happy.
Yeah.
And work together to find out, ladies, what really makes your man happy. We're not talking about physically. We're talking about in his innermost, what brings him peace.
Yeah.
Because oftentimes it's because we don't understand that. And the truth of the matter is men don't know. Simply because of what we already talked about. We conditioned to look at everything external and nothing internal. So even men, more times than not, they don't even know what makes them happy, you know? But we'll keep it going. So this is good. I'm loving it. It's getting deeper, though. All right. At what point, now we spoke to this just a little bit, but we're going to dive deeper into it. At what point should a man put away childish things?
Oh.
You spoke to it just a little bit ago, but let's dive deeper.
As he grows and matures and experiences life, I believe that, even just getting older in age, the stuff that I could laugh at when I was younger, I don't find it funny, because as you get older, life is not really
the same,
that much fun.
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely with age, for sure, but on an emotional level, because you got grown men that still playing games, literal games and emotional games, mental games. So at what point? Because age is one thing, but like I say, you still got grown men that's doing it.
Yeah.
So what point emotionally do you think that we as men should evaluate what's childish, what's adolescent, and what needs to be coming into fruition?
Emotionally. Man, I guess when you start loving yourself.
Okay.
When you start loving yourself, you ought to want to put away childish things because, most of the time, childish things, they bring injury to yourself.
Yes. Yes. And that's the truth of the matter is design. It's like that old adage of when, your mother say, don't touch the stove, because it's hot. And you in and of yourself want to figure it out for yourself, right? So there's a lack of wisdom, right, that takes place because eventually you're going to touch the stove because you're curious, right? And you want to know for yourself. You want to see for yourself. But when you touch that stove and you find out it's hot, you ought to not want to go back to it, right? You ought to have that experience to know. So I think that sometimes we have a missing link as men once we've experienced some things, because see, this is for me what self-actualization is. It's taking all these different experiences and putting them into a functioning way of life, a way of living, a way of thinking. And so I think somewhere we're missing marks and we got some screws loose as men, where we have to do this over and over and over. We relive so many unnecessary experiences.
Yeah. And
do you feel that way? One, and two, do you feel that there's a reason why? Do you have a explanation why you think that is?
I just believe that it's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah.
To continue to do
Mm-hmm.
the same thing, over and over and over and over and
Mm-hmm.
over, knowing what's gonna happen
Mm-hmm.
at the end of that trial, that
Yeah.
jump.
Mm-hmm.
That's literally that's crazy. That's
Yeah, that's
insane.
insanity. Yeah, absolutely. Man, I believe that it's the stages. It's at this stage that we've never reached, or most men never reach, and it's the childishness and things of that nature. Um, for so long, we've been doing it, and just kind of, like I said, been repeating these things since at a young age. I was having a conversation the other day, and I was talking to someone about the differences between girls and boys, and the conditions in which are implemented in women and in men, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we're gonna go off on a tangent for a hot second. Think about this. Even the toys that we buy our little boys and our little girls speak to us so differently, because you have toys that are for girls. You got doctors' toys, nurses' toys, baby toys. You got house toys. You got, all these different career type toys. Career Barbie. Barbie got 1,001 careers. You got the lawyer Barbie. You got the chef Barbie. You got you understand what I'm saying? Business Barbie. You cosmetology Barbie. You got all of these different things for the girls.
Mm-hmm.
But for the boys section, you got guns. You got sports. You got cars, and usually animals. That's pretty much all you got.
Mm-hmm.
And in that difference and the dynamic alone of just thinking about the toys that our young boys have to play with, right? We already talked about all these things speaking to our carnal nature, our physical nature.
Mm-hmm.
And that's literally what they do. Because for women and for little girls, you got all these different toys, right? With all these different possibilities. Varieties, right? Even the shows. You got a show called Doc McStuffins,
Mm-hmm.
about a little black girl, and she's a doctor. She fixes her toys. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But I don't see no boy version of Doc McStuffins.
Right.
But I know we got Paw Patrol that tell you can be a cop, you can be a firefighter, you can be an EMT, you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So in the interim of even the very toys that we play with, it's a setup for failure. It's a setup for looking at carnal things and not ever looking inward. Because when you talk about growing up and getting careers, right?
Mm-hmm.
Women are paid less,
Mm.
but they get more benefits than men do.
Yeah. Yeah.
You understand what
Yeah.
I'm saying? Because maternity leave is an added benefit.
Yeah.
But why can't a man get maternity leave and leave home to be with his wife and raise up his child together with his wife? Because that connection is very, very, that instant connection, that intermediate connection is very, very important to the nature of the child,
Mm-hmm.
to know who's who.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a reason why in society where the man has to be absent for the first 2-3 months of his child. Do you understand what I'm
Yeah.
saying? It's such a setup for the very failure, the essence of the failure of a man.
Start off with separation.
It start off with separation, because if a woman, and again, they get much more benefits than we do, even just in general. It's easier for a female to get food stamps than it is for a man. And I'm not telling anybody what I heard. I'm telling you what I know, because I've struggled as a man, losing my job, all these different things in this pandemic, all these different things. I got denied every benefit there was except for unemployment. And unemployment was so delayed. When I tell you, I've been unemployed almost 3 months and just barely getting unemployment now.
Right.
So with that being said, it's a setup for separation from birth, from adolescent playing with different types of toys, all the way up into the careers. Because a woman can be a doctor, and she might get paid less, but she's going to have more benefits that comes in. She's going to have a better kind of a benefit, a health care plan, because that's what the design is separation. If a family gets some type of housing, right, they tell you can't have a man if you're on Section 8 if you have housing. I'm not telling you what I heard. I'm telling you what I know.
Yeah.
You can't have no man in your house if you're on Section 8. And so with that being said, it's a setup for failure. It's a setup for carnality. It's a setup for our focus to be in the wrong place as men, so that we never get in tune with who we are. We never get in tune to who we are. Because from a very young point, we chasing sports, we want to be a cop. You ask a little boy what he want to be when he grow up. He going to tell you, cop, I want to be a basketball player, football player. I want to be something that's carnal driven.
Yeah.
All those things are carnal driven.
Yeah.
But you ask a young lady what she wants to be, a doctor, a lawyer, a princess, something that's not carnal driven, but what? Mentally driven, emotionally driven. Why? Because that's the setup of literally the divine setup of what it is to be a man. We can't be whole. We can't be complete, because from birth we're conditioned to be incomplete, walking around incomplete.
Right.
And so think about when we become men, when we grow up, how do we even get to completion? That's a hard battle and a hard discussion you got to have with the men that you love. Yeah. Because again, like I stated before, a lot of men don't even know what brings them peace. Everybody pretty much has the same options, but why are people turning out different? One of the main differences is the economic status. Because as a young boy, you may have footballs and basketballs and sports-like toys and things like that, cars, guns. Those may be your options as toys. But if you live in a well-enough neighborhood to where when you go to school, you can be in band, you can be in orchestra, you can be in choir, you can do this, you can do that. They got all these different clubs and things like that you can be a part of, chess team. They have other options when you get to school. And see, in lower income neighborhoods, you got them toys, and when you get to school, you mirroring the same thing you playing with. So all it does is drives internally more and more of that carnal nature that you want to reach for. Why? Because by the time you grow up and you start learning what money is and what money means and how it works, that's all you chasing. Why? Because it was programmed in you as a little kid that you can be a sports star. Now, do you know at 10 years old how much the average football player makes? Do you know at 5 years old that you can sit on the bench and make $500,000 a year as a football player? No, you don't know that. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So why is that such your innate desire at 5 to carry you all the way through life, that by the time you get enough sense to know what money is, you really want to do that? Why? Because all it's going to do is feed more of that carnal.
Yep.
And as we were talking about earlier, that extended adolescence, so you get older, you buy all these cars. What men call their cars? Toys, right?
Yeah, yeah.
You buy these big old houses like toys. You understand what I'm saying? You buy all this stuff to keep satisfying an ego that's extended adolescence, as you stated before. So that only difference is that economic status. That's why in the well-off neighborhoods, we ain't gonna bring a specific group of people, but in well-off neighborhoods, that innate desire is killed because you get more opportunity. Yeah. You see science differently. You see math differently. You see more careers in those particular veins, because that's what they condition you in the schools. So there's a point where you go on and break off the childish stuff. Why? Because you see some things differently. You see some different opportunities. But when you in lower income neighborhoods, them schools gonna mirror the same thing that you getting at home. The basketball, the football, the baseball, the track, the cops, the robbers, all that stuff. And so that mentality is carried over. So we're gonna get into the next question. Now that we've talked about all these different things, right? What does a healthy man look like? And that's just a general question. What does a healthy man look like? If you were to just paint the picture of a healthy man, what does he look like? What must he have? What character must he possess?
I think a healthy man would know his purpose.
Okay, that's good.
We spend like a lifetime just pursuing what is called. This is like a vicious cycle, man. Going round and round and round, and never aimlessly. Yes. And never really getting where we need to be at. So I think that's an issue of a man that's not healthy. Him not knowing his purpose. Next, I think he ought to be a good steward.
All right.
over what he has or what or
Make that plain for somebody who ain't been churched. What does that mean to be a good
a
steward?
good steward means, okay, if God put a wife into my hands
Mm-hmm.
and we have kids, then I am to lead that, not necessarily just manage it, but
Mm-hmm.
lead that well.
Okay.
I'm treating it as if it's me
Mm-hmm.
in those
Yeah.
positions.
Take care of it like it's you. Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah. Uh-huh. Okay. Any other characteristics as far as that's concerned, what it means to be a healthy man?
Um, then he must have a good job,
Mm-hmm.
or at least a stable one.
A stable one.
We don't
Okay.
know what a good job
Uh-huh.
is because most of us work in jobs that we don't even like,
Yeah.
just only to be there for the, like you
Mm-hmm.
say, the carnal things.
Mm-hmm.
So he ought to have a job that really complements his purpose to be
That's
real.
good. That's good.
Because if I'm getting up and I'm angry about going to work, then
Mm-hmm.
eventually I'm gonna snap on somebody.
At the home. Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. Yeah. Very, very, very true. Absolutely. And so you spoken on some great characteristics. I'm gonna look in a little deeper because, like I said, that's the purpose of the conversation. To not be so surface, but to look a little deeper. And so I think you've hit on some great points. Just to go even deeper than as deep as we've gone. I think a healthy man ought to be a communicative man.
Okay.
So often we lock up, we shut down, we choose not to use healthy and prospering words. And so I think that for initially, because again, this whole podcast is designed to start conversations. Every episode, you ought to have a conversation with somebody about what you heard on this podcast. To start us off, I think for men to really understand the principle that life and death lies in the power of the tongue, I think we'll be much better off as men if we could just ever get that principle to understand that the words we speak are powerful, and the words we choose not to speak when words ought to be spoken is just as powerful. Yeah, your kid's bad as all get out, but don't beat them down with your words.
Yeah.
Teach them that they're better than that. Lift them up, encourage them, love on them. Yeah, your wife, yeah, she may not be the best,
Right.
most caring, loving woman, but speak to her in a manner that creates that response. And see, we don't know how to do that as men because we can't speak to ourselves. We can't speak to ourselves. So when we understand the principle of life and death lies in the power of our words, then we'll start speaking to us a little bit better. And eventually we might create some life within us that we can start speaking to others a little bit better. So I think that's what a healthy man looks like, is a man who can speak righteousness, wealth, prosperity, love, peace, in all situations, not just the ones that benefit or favor him.
Right. Yeah.
Because that's easy. See, that's the thing about us as men. We talk about this game we have, right? And we mac on the babes or whatever, honeys, whatever. And that's a skill, to tell a woman the right things to get what you need and what you want from her. That's a skill. Why can't we turn that skill in on ourselves and say, I need to be healed of that wound from when I was 7 years old. I need to be, and talk ourselves through something. We can't do that for ourselves. We can do it in the benefit of ourselves. We can't do it for ourselves. So I think that's aside and along with having stable jobs, stability, having being a good steward over what it is that you have, learning that it's all about what God gave you and not about what you don't have, and learning to just manage who you are better. You definitely need to learn how to talk.
Yeah.
How to
Communication.
talk. Yeah, you gotta learn how to talk.
A lot of relationships fail because of communication.
Yeah, it's easy for us to shut down as men, but like I say, learn to speak to you first.
Yeah.
And then once you got you together and can get yourself out of some situations, talk yourself through some things, then start applying that love and energy to other people and not shut down when things get tough. All right, and the last question of the day says, what does a man truly need to stay committed in a relationship?
For me, I speak personal.
Okay.
I have to have my mind made up, that
Yeah, absolutely. That will kill a lot of frustrations, making up your mind for sure. Um, I think for certain, I heard a quote that changed my life. Y'all know I'm going to say that every episode because I hear a lot of things and I'm always learning. But I heard a quote that changed my life. And it says, why is a relationship only in jeopardy when the woman is unhappy? And I truly believe that to an extent. Uh, because in our subconscious mind, we've already talked about it a little bit. We're conditioned to accept this as truth that a man doesn't necessarily need to be happy. He just needs to be working. He needs to be moving. He needs to be doing something in order to survive. But he don't necessarily got to be happy. And I believe that that does cause a lot of issues because we've already set the foundation to understand men are miserable. We walking around miserable. We done already discussed that. We done already put that out there on the table. So now that we know that, ladies, those who are listening, understand that men deserve to be happy too. And it's going to take you a while to understand what makes your man happy because he don't know what make him happy. Why? We condition not to know. We condition not to think on those things. And so I think that, like I said, we have these conditions that we walk in as men. And so with this, we accept this as the truth that is universally understood that when you treat a woman like she should be treated, right? She'll return a special type of love to you like you never seen. We hear that all the time, right? But as we evolve, we have to understand that it's even in fact narcissistic amongst men and women to think that way. Because the truth of the matter is, if we working as a team, then we ought to both be trying to make each other happy, satisfied, and we ought to both know what each other likes and what boundaries not to cross and what things we should be doing for one another. And I think that when we get to that place where we're committed to one another, to see each other grow, and that should be foundational. Because before you even start having children, you ought to know your spouse inside and out. Why? Because we have children, and we have children with people we really don't know.
Yeah.
And when we have children with people we truly don't know, then you start to see elements of that in the children.
Mm-hmm.
And you start seeing your children. Now, I ain't no liar, but baby, you a liar. Where you get that from? Hello? You ain't know your man was alive before you laid with him? Come on now. Man, you a thief. Where you didn't know that girl was stealing?
Boosting.
You didn't know. So you gotta definitely, like you said, be sure. Have some purpose in what you committing to.
Yeah.
Be 100 with it. And then from there, build into something that you can, that you can definitely have that lasts. Because we're going to be committed to what we like.
Yeah.
And
absolutely.
if you got a happy woman and a miserable man, because I see it all the time, I see those posts that say, oh, a man got a good woman at home, but he still go out there and cheat. You might be a good woman, but you're not sufficing what this man needs. Why? Because you don't know. And truth be told, he don't either. So he chasing something, trying to fulfill something he don't know nothing about. You mad and sad because you can't do what you think you ought to been doing because you're a good woman. That doesn't mean anything. Learn who each other is. Get as deep as you can with one another before you start going routes.
Yeah.
And that'll cut out a lot of this unnecessary stuff. Not condoning. Men, don't go out there and be cheating. It's just not okay ever. Ladies, don't go out there and be cheating. It's not okay ever. But however, there's a reason for everything that we do. We got to get to the reason. We got to get to the root. Because 9 times out of 10, you do it and it ain't got nothing to do with your partner. Yeah. You're unsatisfied with who you are.
Right. Yeah.
So you go and reflect that on somebody else. But at the end of the day, this is exactly what we're speaking of. And we're specifically talking to men right now. Women, you got some issues too. We're going to talk to y'all next week. But for men, we have to get in touch with who we are on the inside. and start to get some things straight on the inside. So that way we can be better men first. We can be better husbands second. We can be better fathers third. We can be better sons to our mothers and relatives. You understand what I'm saying? We can be better when we start to realize that there's more to life than just football, basketball, guns, cops, having this, having that, having money, having girls. It's more to life. You have purpose, man. You have purpose. You got a destiny. You got something you got to walk in, and you'll never get to that self-actualization until you get on that journey. All right. So that concludes our that concludes our food for thought portion. It was a lot of food. It was a buffet. Get what you need. Get what you got while it's hot, and take away. I believe there's something for every man who's listening. Everybody got something they done heard that they can really take away from. All right. And so that's our next portion is the takeaways. That's the final portion of the show. And this is where we talk challenges, things that you can work on for the next 7 days to get your life. Okay. That don't mean it's going to be resolved in 7 days, but you're going to work on it for the next 7 days until we meet again. All right. So you have any takeaways, any challenges for the men, women, boys, girls listening, something that they can put into action?
Yeah, I would say, man, shut down social media.
All right.
For the 7 days that you talked
Okay.
about. You know, because we don't want to be out here chasing what somebody else has and creating frustration when we don't get that.
Yeah.
You know, what works for somebody else might not work for me.
All right. That's truth.
So I gotta shut off what I'm allowing myself to be introduced to.
Okay. That's good. That's very good. Man, shut down that social media. I know that's going to be hard for some of y'all, but at least limit it. Okay? Because some of y'all be on there 5 hours a day. Limit it to 1 hour a day. And you know, do what you got to do. But that's good, Pastor Crawford. Shut down that social media. We look at those things and we see the glory, but we don't know the story. And we chasing after whatever because we see the glory on Instagram, Facebook, whatever, but we don't know the story and what it took to get that. And we're not all equipped to go through what it takes to get whatever we see. Yeah. So that's good. My takeaway to men, fathers, heads of households, and sons are to take time to reach within and connect with your inner self. Connect with your inner child. Deal with some unresolved issues that took away your passion and your fire. Your first love. And if it is that you've not had your true first love yet, then I dare you to exploit your purpose and find yourself and discover what that is and walk in it unapologetically. That's what you got to do. Brother, you got to look deep inside yourself. Because sometimes you are walking in your passion at a young age and something come along that was beyond your control. There's brothers out there that have been violated at the hands of loved ones and strangers and friends and families, and not just all. It's not always in a sexual way, but it could be anything in nature. You know, being in pursuit of your passion and being told, "Oh, that's gay." You understand what? Yeah. Being told, "Oh, nah, you a boy, you a man." Get. Those are things that can destroy that inner child and lead to a path of miserability and destruction. Because you think about this, and this is my last little tangent. The fashion industry, right? Mm-hmm. Is full of consumers, and there are more consumers of women in the fashion industry than there are men. Yeah. And them numbers are climbing amongst men. Yeah. But the fashion industry is definitely held down by the ladies, consumer-wise. There are more male producers of fashion than there are female producers. What am I saying? You got Jordans on your feet. Who make Jordans? Michael Jordan. You got a Gucci belt. Who make Gucci? Gucci, that's a man. You got a Fendi purse. Who make Fendi? Fendi, that's a man. You got Louis Vuitton wallet. Who make that? Louis Vuitton, that's a man. These are all men that are doing what they love, making killer money off of what they love, building generational wealth off of what they love to do. And do you think for 1 second that if they had listened to somebody who probably told them it was gay or stupid or, you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
At any point in time, if they would have listened to somebody who's not walking in their shoes, could they have, for 1 second, been to the status where they are today? These men, most of these men are dead and gone. And they children making money like nobody's business.
Yeah.
So I say all that to say this, men. Walk in your purpose. And don't be afraid and don't apologize for doing what brings you peace. True peace. We're not talking about temporary carnal stuff. We've been doing that long enough. It's time to kill that. Find what brings you peace and get to it. Get busy in it. Make that connection. So thank y'all for listening today. I hope you enjoyed. I have enjoyed this conversation. I've enjoyed you, Pastor Crawford. I appreciate you coming in and just bringing those nuggets of wisdom.
Absolutely.
And I appreciate you bringing the missus in. She didn't get on the mic today, but she's in supporting. So I love it. I already know it's on lock. Okay.
Yes, sir.
So tell the people where they can find you. What are your social media platforms, the church, everything like that?
Well, for our social media platform, we're on Facebook at Purpose Premises, or you can email us at purposepremises3@gmail.com. And the church is located in the Medical Center area, 1304 South Loop West, Houston, Texas, 77054. That's the Astrodome area. So, man, we're doing some work over there.
Awesome. And what times are y'all there?
4:30 to 6:30.
On Sunday?
Sundays.
Okay, perfect. So if you got a morning shift on Sundays and you're looking for a place to worship in the evening times, perfect place to go. Purpose Premises. Okay, they're open in the evening time. So any other things y'all got going on? Any platforms you got going on? Anything you got going on that people need to know about?
Man, we just trying to get in that area right now. We're trying to reach out to Mr. Ellis to see how we can get our foot in the door to start doing, some more work and trying to meet those community needs over there, man.
Gotcha. All right. Well, that's awesome. And y'all know where y'all can find me, the Counselor's Kitchen. New Instagram alert, _Counselor's Kitchen on Instagram. That is the official Instagram for us. My personal is Lewis_Davion21. And again, Counselor's Kitchen everywhere else, Facebook, YouTube, and that sort of thing. Thank you again, Freegame Productions, for producing this episode. That's Deonza Albright. She don't want to get on, but I'm going to make sure we put all her information in the descriptions of the videos. And y'all just keep sharing it, keep loving it, keep coming, keep listening. It's going to get deeper. Next week, we're talking to the ladies with the elect lady Angela Forney. She'll be in. And we will continue this conversation further next week with the ladies, okay? So, again, I love y'all. Y'all have a blessed day. And keep, men, for you all, keep going. Don't stop. Keep loving yourself. And ladies, if you got a man, I don't care if it's your husband, if it's your son, whatever, have a conversation about what makes them happy. All right? Y'all be peace and have...